You have a disadvantage. I don't know what it is, but you do. It could be your age, where you were born, who your parents are. It could be your hair, or the lack thereof. It could be your gender, or the color of your skin. Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, the question isn't, do you have a disadvantage? The question is, what is your perspective of it, and how do you face it? My father knew about disadvantages and keeping them in perspective. He grew up during the Great Depression. At 12 years old, he was working on the farm, doing the same job as any grown man. At 14, he graduated from high school, not because he was so smart, but because he needed to work more to help provide for the family, because their father had abandoned him. He later learned computer programming and went on to have a very successful career. And he was a cowboy. In fact, this was his hat. He rode bucking broncs and wild bulls in the rodeo, and he was wanted in 18 counties in 4 states, and at Bob's Big Boy on 50-cent Hamburger Tuesdays. His philosophy of life was summed up in 3 sayings that I will always remember. Number 1, sometimes you have to back up and punt. Number 2, they can't eat you. And number 3, yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. Number 1, sometimes you have to back up and punt. In the game of American football, sometimes his single best option is to kick the ball to the other team. This seems counterintuitive to me. I must possess the ball in order to score a touchdown. Sometimes your failures are just learning experiences, moving you closer to success. You can lose the battle without losing the war. You are still in the game. Sometimes you have to back up and punt. Number 2, they can't eat you. Most often he would say this when I was facing a fear, whether that was spiders, bullies, or girls. What he meant was, yeah, you're afraid right now, but what's the right perspective of that fear? Is what you're about to do going to kill you? Probably not. Best to just face it, move on through it, and get to the other side. Your fears can't eat you, unless you're camping. But that's a topic for another speaker. Number 3, yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. This is actually from an old cowboy song, not a 1980s action movie. Say it with me. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. One more time. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. I believe my father used this as an attitude adjustment. So how do we use it? Well, early in the morning, you know you're facing a challenging day. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. The middle of the day, you're in the heat of the battle. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. The end of the day, your problems have beat you to a pulp. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. While you can't control your disadvantage, you can choose your perspective of it. How? Let me give you an example. I was working on my master's degree, and I submitted a paper to my professor, which he returned to me with so much red ink on it, it looked like a crime scene. In fact, he wrote on that paper, if you don't learn how to write, you will not get very far in your career. My disadvantage, I wrote at a 5th to 7th grade level. I was devastated. I didn't even want to write a thank you note after that. Have you ever had that moment? The recognition, the acceptance of your disadvantage? It's tough to have perspective in that moment. Well, many years later, I decided to start a marketing business. And I knew I was going to have to write a lot. My disadvantage reared its head again. But then I learned something. Think about it. every TV commercial, every radio ad, every annoying internet pop-up, all written at a 5th to 7th grade level. They have to be in order to communicate clearly, effectively, with the largest audience possible. My disadvantage, now my advantage. Your disadvantage doesn't have to hold you back. It can be your path to success. It's been 15 years since my father passed away. That's how long it's taken me to truly understand the meaning and the power of his words. Sometimes you have to back up and punt. Failure isn't final. They can't eat you. Facing your fears isn't fatal. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay. The next time you need to change your perspective, just think those words. But guess what? It's better to shout it. Shout it with me. Yippee-yi-yo-ki-yay.